Okay, in this next video, we're going to talk about pulling up an options chain with MarketXLS using quote media data. Very easy process. It can be a one click on one button, or there's an individual function that you can enter into a cell, and we're going to cover that right here. The first thing just want to mention is after you've set up your data subscription from quote media, you're just going to go over into the settings over on the right, and if you just want to test your connection, you can just go right here under the data subscription tab and hit test connection, and that'll make sure that you're connected okay with a success pop-up. Alright, so now we're going to cover pulling up an option chain with the platform. So I'm going to just start with basically a real simple symbol, something like Microsoft. I'll just type in here under this cell here. Now there's two ways to pull up an option chain. So first I'm going to show you the one-click button easy way to do it. Basically what you'll do is you'll go over to the Utilities tab over on the right, and you'll hit that, and you see a drop down there where it says options chain. Now you have to actually highlight the symbol before you hit this button, and then it'll place it on the sheet. So let me just zoom out here and show you what I mean. So I'm going to highlight on Microsoft, then I'm going to go over to Utilities, and if you notice Microsoft is still highlighted, and then I'm going to hit option chain. Now it's a little pop-up will come up to let you know that you're going to overwrite cells. So just make sure that you have a clear area to pull in all the data, and it doesn't overwrite any other data that you may have. So it's best maybe to just start here on a blank sheet until you get familiar with how many columns there are to make sure that you don't overwrite data. So then you hit yes, and then that pulls up your option chain. Okay, this is all the options for Microsoft, the different strike prices, basically the last pricing data. If you're not doing a real-time function here, it's just going to give you the last price and the change. You get the open, high, low, previous close, bid and ask, the last date and time of the trade. Okay, I'll just zoom in here so you can see what we're talking about. You can get all the Greeks, okay, over here on the right. You'll see the delta, the gamma. I'll just zoom over here. The theta, the vega, the implied volatility. Okay, so all the data that you need, all in one options chain. As you see, I just pulled up basically with one click on the button. All right. That's the easy way to pull up an entire options chain. There's another manual way to do it. Let me just clear all this out. And that's using the individual function here. So two things I want to show before I actually type it up here into the function bar here. If you want to see the various data that's available to you, you'll just hit the function toolbar here, and then you'll go down to whether it's stocks or technical data or some of the utilities and the real-time groupings that we have here. But with quote media on the options, it's basically in this group here. Okay, under the tabular data, and this is where you're going to hit get option chain, so you can choose it here. Okay, and then it's going to ask you, what's the reference symbol, and in this case it's Microsoft, so I'll just highlight that. And then if I hit OK, again a pop-up will come up, asking you if you want to overwrite the data. You just say yes. And that's a way to pull up the chain from the function toolbar. Okay. Now, as you get familiar with the different functions, and if you don't want to go to the function toolbar every time to to choose what one you're looking for, you can actually just type it in. Okay, and in this case here, you're going to see I'm going to type in QM, and then you'll see a drop down. Okay, with different choices here. That's another way to do it. You can just choose from here. But if you just want to actually type everything in, it's underscore get option chain. All right, and again, as I choose that, I'm going to have to reference the root symbol. In this case, it's Microsoft. And I just close that off with the brackets. I'm going to hit enter. Again, the pop-up will come, tell you that you're going to overwrite these cells, so make sure you don't have any data in there. You hit yes, and that's another way to pull up the options chain. Okay, so just in closing here on this particular video, just want to mention that as you get used to how many cells, how many columns and how many rows are going in a certain area. Again, if you have saved sheets and data structured a certain way, it's best to do this on a blank sheet unless you actually know where the data is going to get pasted when you pull in the data. Okay, so those are the two quick ways to pull up an options chain. Again, either over here with the utilities button, you can just hit the drop down just to pull up the option chain, or you can actually do it from the function toolbar as a choice, or you can actually type it in to the cell that you're going to start as the root for pulling in the data for that root symbol. Okay, so that concludes this video on basically how to pull up an options chain. Again, all this is available at MarketXLS.com. Just visit the website for our various pricing and different tools and features of the platform. The next video we're going to cover is basically individual functions when you're pulling it up on a symbol.